Have you ever wondered how many smiles around you are lies? Not paranoia, truth. You walk through life believing people like you, tolerate you at worst. But here's what Jung knew that you don't. The unconscious never lies. The resentment they carry toward you runs deeper than oceans, buried in silence, wrapped in politeness, hidden behind hollow compliments. And you? You've been blind to it because you need to believe you're accepted. You need that illusion to survive. But let's end the delusion right now. You're more hated than you think. Not because you've done anything particularly wrong, though you have, haven't you? But because your very existence triggers their darkness. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your authenticity reveals their performance. Your light makes their shadows dance, and they hate you for it. Still wondering why conversations die when you speak your truth? Why rooms get colder when you enter with confidence? Why success stories are met with silence, but failures get standing ovations? Carl Jung, one of the greatest scholars of the human mind, spoke of a fundamental concept, the shadow, the part of the human psyche that people refuse to acknowledge. So instead of facing their own demons, they project them onto you. They make you carry their disowned shame, their buried envy, their unlived potential. The question is, will you keep chasing approval from people who secretly wish for your downfall? Or will you finally wake up and see the battlefield you're standing on? Let's begin. They don't hate you. Not exactly. They hate what you reflect back at them. You show them their mediocrity, their comfort with less, their acceptance of ordinary when extraordinary was always possible. That's the root of it all. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being resented because you're becoming stronger while they stay stuck. But here's the brutal part. You still think they're on your side. You laugh with them. You share your dreams, your fears, your victories. You carry their emotional weight. And slowly, quietly, consistently, you bleed. Emotionally, mentally, sometimes spiritually. You're being drained and you don't even see it happening. They chip away at you in small doses. Passive-aggressive comments wrapped in jokes. Subtle jealousy disguised as concern. Support that only shows up when you're losing, never when you're winning. Why? Because your progress threatens their comfort zone. Every time you read more, think deeper, live more intentionally, it reminds them they could do the same, but they don't. So instead of rising with you, they try to pull you down. Quietly, consistently, cleverly. Jung called this shadow projection. The parts of themselves they despise, their envy, their weakness, their fear of change, they cast those parts onto you like throwing garbage over a fence. They need you to be flawed so they can feel okay about not evolving. They need you to fail so they can sleep peacefully in their mediocrity. And what do? You try harder to win their approval. You shrink yourself to fit their small boxes. You offer more, share more, give more until there's nothing left of who you actually are. Here's the truth they'll never say to your face. They don't want you. They want what you provide. Your attention, your validation, your energy, your time. They'll never ask how you're really doing because in their minds, you only exist as a mirror or a resource. Angry yet? You should be. You were conditioned to be likable, agreeable, good. But good is just another word for useful. And the moment you stop being useful to them, watch how quickly their tone changes. Watch how fast warmth becomes ice. This is the silent hatred Jung warned about. It doesn't scream or throw tantrums. It withdraws. It distances. It hopes for your fall quietly but consistently. You'll recognize it by the friend who goes silent after your success, the family member who mocks your growth but copies your moves in private, the colleague who smiles but only applauds when you stumble. You feel it, don't you? That tension in the air when you speak honestly. That shift in energy when you talk about your wins. They can't celebrate you because celebrating you means confronting the lie of their own inaction. You've been carrying this weight, wondering if you're the problem. Let me be crystal clear. You're not the problem. You are the trigger. And there's a massive difference. Now here's where your power begins. You don't fight back with noise. You don't beg them to understand your worth. You don't shrink to make them comfortable. You become still. You observe. You protect your energy like it's the most valuable currency on earth. Because the moment you stop reacting to their provocations, you win. When they can't manufacture guilt in you, they lose control. When they can't manipulate your empathy, they lose access. When they can't predict your responses anymore, they begin to fear you. And fear is louder than hate. Remember, Jung didn't preach revenge. He preached integration. You don't have to destroy your enemies. You only need to see them clearly. So ask yourself, who drains me every time we interact? Who vanishes when I rise? Who only reaches out when they need something? Don't ignore those answers. Start pulling back your energy. Start feeding your soul instead of their egos. Start loving yourself in ways that don't require an audience. That's how you reclaim your power. Let them hate. Let them whisper. Let them go. You're not here to heal their shadows. You're here to integrate your own and rise above their projections. You think people see you clearly? They don't. They see you through the distorted lens of their own unhealed minds. Carl Jung called this projection, the psychological process where people dump the parts of themselves they deny, despise, or fear onto others. The darker their shadow, the more violently they project it. Here's how it works. Someone hates their own weakness, but instead of facing it, they see you as arrogant. They resent your discipline because it exposes their laziness. They mock your ambition because it illuminates their comfort with settling. You're not the problem. You're the mirror. And people would rather smash the mirror than confront what's staring back at them. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So when they see your strength, they don't think, I admire that determination. They think, who does he think he is? When they witness your growth, they don't feel inspired. They feel exposed. Enter envy. Not jealousy, envy. Jealousy wants what you have. Envy wants to see it taken away from you. Let that penetrate your consciousness. The envious person isn't satisfied by having more success themselves. They're only satisfied when you have less. Less confidence, less opportunity, less joy. So they don't confront you directly. That would require honesty, courage, self-awareness. Instead, they chip away like water eroding stone. A sarcastic compliment here. A question that undermines your choices there. Silence when you win. Excitement when you fall. It's not random. It's not accidental. It's shadow work, but the toxic kind. They don't know how to process their own darkness, so they make you the repository for it. You become their emotional dumping ground. But here's what Jung emphasized that most people miss. You have a shadow too. And if you don't become conscious of it, you'll start projecting. You'll blame, resent, attack. You'll play the same destructive game. But awareness breaks the cycle. Shadow work isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming honest. Honest enough to say, yes, I'm capable of envy. Yes, I projected before. Yes, I've worn masks to avoid confronting my own shame. That's where real power begins. When you face your inner chaos and stop outsourcing your pain to others. Here's how you recognize someone who hasn't integrated their shadow. They overreact to small things. They judge people who have what they secretly want. They talk about values they don't actually live by. They're living in complete denial. And you become the punching bag for everything they've refused to acknowledge about themselves. But now that you understand this machinery, now that you can see the gears turning behind their smiles, you stop taking it personally. You stop trying to be liked. You stop defending yourself. You stop explaining your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Because here's the hard truth Jung grasped. People don't hate you. They hate their own reflection in you. And when you stop absorbing that hatred, when you hold up the mirror but refuse to flinch, you become untouchable. Not through domination, but through clarity. Your job isn't to fix their shadows. Your job is to integrate yours so completely that no one can weaponize it against you. Let's get one thing straight. You will never eliminate hate. Not all of it. Not entirely. Even saints have enemies. Even silence gets misinterpreted. So stop wasting energy trying to be nice enough, humble enough, or invisible enough to avoid it. You can't escape it, but you can do something far more powerful. You can weaponize it. Here's how. understand what hate actually is. Hate is energy, raw, obsessive, consuming energy. And where energy flows, attention follows. Most people collapse under that pressure. They shrink, doubt themselves, break apart. But if you're wise, if you're calm and calculating like a chess master, you'll see hate as intelligence gathering. Haters are your free analysts. They expose your power by reacting to it. They reveal your impact by obsessing over it. No one hates a ghost. They hate the person shaking their worldview. Carl Jung understood this profoundly. He said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." So when someone hates you, congratulations. You're touching something real in them. You're pulling their buried emotions to the surface, and they can't handle it. You're no longer invisible. You're undeniable. Step 1. Stop reacting emotionally. This is where most people fail catastrophically. They fight hate with panic, with explanations, with apologies, with desperate attempts to win back approval. You don't. You don't even flinch. When you stop reacting, you break their spell. Haters feed on reaction. It validates them, gives them the power they're desperately seeking. But when you respond with stillness, it terrifies them. They expected chaos. They got silence. And silence is surgical. It makes them question everything. It makes them wonder what you know that they don't. It makes them respect you against their will. Remember this: you don't rise by arguing. You rise by not needing to. Step 2. Use their hate as fuel. Most people let criticism weaken them, but the mentally strong flip the script. They turn insults into insights. They turn rejection into redirection. Every time someone mocks you, belittles you, doubts your vision, write it down. Keep a record. Call it proof that I matter, because their hate is proof. Proof that you're triggering something valuable. Proof that you're moving while they're stuck. Proof that you scare people who have accepted limitation as their identity. Use it as motivation to sharpen yourself. Train harder. Think deeper. Build in silence. Let their negativity finance your discipline. Let their doubt feed your obsession with excellence. This isn't revenge, it's alchemy. You're transforming poison into progress. Step 3. Build in silence. Strike with results. Nothing humbles a hater more than watching you rise without making sound. No announcements, no social media validation, just undeniable results. While they're gossiping, you're building. While they're watching, you're working. And when the moment comes, you don't say a word. You let your transformation speak for itself. Your growth will announce itself louder than any argument ever could. This is the ultimate power move, letting your success haunt them. Not out of spite, but out of principle. Because you didn't beg to be understood. You didn't stoop to their level. You stayed focused on becoming who you were meant to be. Step 4. Protect your energy like currency. Your attention is expensive. Start treating it that way. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop proving yourself to people who never asked how you were doing when times were hard. Instead, pull back. Observe more. Speak less. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Let others live unconsciously. You stay aware. You stay sharp. Their hate becomes your compass. Their envy becomes your map. Your silence becomes your shield. So here's your new philosophy. If they hate you, let them. If they talk, don't listen. If they plot, don't move. Stay calm. Stay cold. Stay calculating. You are not here to be liked. You are here to become undeniable. And when hate meets someone truly unshakable, it dies in the silence of its own irrelevance. Not all silence is weakness. Sometimes silence is the sharpest weapon in the room. The world tells you to speak up, defend yourself, explain your choices, prove your worth to anyone who questions it. That's a trap. Every time you explain yourself to someone who's already decided to misunderstand you, you lose power. You leak energy. You validate their belief that they have a right to judge your path. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." Silence is how you weaponize that knowledge. This is strategic silence, not passivity, but precision, not avoidance, but absolute control. Silence as a shield. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every rumor requires your voice. When you speak, you spend energy. When you're silent, they spend theirs. They obsess, overthink, fill in the blanks with their own fears. People fear what they cannot understand. So when you give them nothing to grab onto, no emotions to manipulate, no words to twist, you become unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous. They don't know if they've won or lost. They don't know if you care or if you're planning something they can't see. That uncertainty is power, psychological warfare without firing a single shot. Silence is a filter. Go quiet for a while. Watch who checks in versus who assumes the worst. Watch who talks about you instead of to you. Your silence becomes a sorting mechanism that separates the loyal from the opportunistic, the genuine from the performative. People who need constant noise, constant validation, constant explanation are not ready for depth. And your evolution will always require distance from shallow minds. Silence as a weapon. You don't beg, don't warn, don't argue. You just stop engaging. To the manipulator, silence is terrifying. To the narcissist, it's a mirror reflecting their emptiness. To the fake supporter, it's exposure of their true intentions. You're no longer feeding the toxic dynamic. You've left the stage, and without your energy, their mask falls off. They want drama, you give peace. They want chaos, you give stillness. They want war, you give nothing. And in that nothing, they unravel completely. Silence as discipline. This isn't always easy, especially when your ego is bruised, when you want to be understood, when you want to defend your honor. But that's exactly the point. Silence disciplines you. It reminds you that your reactions belong to you, not to whoever is trying to provoke them. You can feel anger and still choose not to speak. You can feel disrespected and still refuse to explain. You can feel everything and still choose the power of silence. That is strength, the kind people can sense even when you say absolutely nothing. When someone mocks your path, stay silent. When someone misrepresents your character, stay silent. When someone tries to bait you into their drama, stay silent. When someone doesn't deserve access to your thoughts, stay silent. And when they ask why you're so quiet, smile. Not to be polite, but to confirm what they already fear. You know something they don't. You see something they can't. You've reached a level of awareness they're not ready for. Once you master strategic silence, you become unreadable. And unreadable people are unstoppable. You've gone deeper than most people dare to go. You've stared your shadow in the face and chosen not to scream, not to perform, not to beg for understanding. You've chosen the power of silence. And in doing so, you've become dangerous, not because you speak loudly, but because you no longer need to. Let's stop pretending. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort, validation, soft lies. But you came for truth, even if it burns. Here it is. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be clear, awake, dangerous in your awareness. That's why they hate you. Not because you're wrong, but because you're no longer asleep like them. The moment you woke up, they felt it. And they panicked. Because if you can wake up, what excuse do they have for staying unconscious? Jung warned, people will do anything to avoid facing their own soul. You've witnessed this. You felt the weight of their projections crashing into you. But now you know what it really is. It's not hate, it's fear. Fear that you've become what they refuse to be. So rise anyway. Don't explain, don't soften, don't hide. Walk forward with eyes open, heart protected, mind sharp. Own your shadow. Integrate your pain. Guard your peace. And don't apologize for any of it. This world will tell you to tone it down, be more agreeable. But that advice is a leash for minds built to roar. Let them call you arrogant. Let them say you've changed, because you have. You stopped bleeding energy for people who never deserved your light. They don't want you small for your sake. They want you small so they don't feel exposed next to your growth. But the era of shrinking is over. This is your moment to choose. Will you live suppressed, hated anyway for who they imagine you to be? Or will you become the complete version of yourself and be hated for who you truly are? Either way, the hate is coming. So why not make it count? Take inventory of every voice around you. Who fuels you? Who drains you? Cut access accordingly. Stop defending your path. It was never up for debate. You are not here to please them. You're here to outgrow them completely. The truth is, you were never too much. They were just never enough to handle who you're becoming. Now walk away. Not with bitterness, not with anger. Walk away with silence. And let your life get so loud with purpose that they can't pretend they don't hear it. This is the end of their lies about who you should be and the beginning of your power to become who you actually are. Go live it, without apology, without